guys, welcome back to the video. Today we're carrying on the video series discussing the different organisational structures and business forms that firms use to set up their business. I've discussed sole proprietorships in the past, general partnerships, and today we're moving on and thinking about the second key type of partnership, which is the limited partnership. So we'll discuss the pros, the cons, and the key considerations that owners need to think about when setting up a limited partnership. So yeah, let's get into it. Okay, so let's start off with a simple definition of a limited partnership. So a limited partnership is a firm that has two distinct sets of partners. So you have a group of limited partners, and the limited partners provide the capital to the business, so they provide the equity financing. But crucially, they're not involved in the day-to-day running of the business. They have no real influence over the decisions made by the firm. They don't really get involved in the day-to-day mechanics of running it. They simply provide the capital, and importantly, they have limited liability for the firm's losses. So we'll discuss the distinction a little bit between limited and unlimited liability in a moment, but that's a really important point to understand. The limited partners have limited liability, so they are not subject to, forfeiting their personal assets or selling their personal assets if the business is to fail or incur losses. And then the second distinct group of partners that sits within a limited partnership are the general partner. So the general partner is typically one, but there can sometimes be more than one. The general partner is basically the opposite. They are heavily involved in the day-to-day running of the business. They focus on sort of managing and growing the business, and they're just heavily involved in the operational side of the partnership. And they have unlimited liability for the firm's losses. So if the business can't pay its debts or incurs heavy losses, the general partner may have to, subject their personal assets and sell those personal assets to fund those losses or those debts. So that's basically the key distinction. There's two groups of partners that sit within a limited partnership, and I'll sketch out the structure in a moment as well, just to make it super clear how it all works. So yeah, limited partnerships build upon some of the downsides and improve upon some of the downsides of a general partnership by creating the two distinct groups of partners. The general partner, as I said, manages the day-to-day operations and has unlimited liability for the firm's losses. So if the business can't pay its debts, then the general partner may have to sell their house, sell their car, and sell other personal assets to fund those losses. And the remaining partners, so the LPs, the limited partners, have limited liability, meaning their losses are limited to how much they initially invest in the limited partnership. So as someone that holds limited liability within the business, the most you can ever lose is how much you initially invest. You can't lose, people can't come after you and claim on your other assets. The maximum amount you can lose is the amount of capital you initially invested in the venture. And yeah, as I said, they have minimal involvement in the running of the business. They simply provide the deep pockets, so they provide the money, but they don't provide any expertise or minimal expertise. It's really down to the general partner to sort of control and manage the day-to-day operations of the enterprise. So yeah, let's just do a quick side-by-side comparing limited liability and unlimited liability, just to make sure we're super clear, because we've got both in this limited partnership structure. The general partners carry unlimited liability, whereas the limited partners carry limited liability. So we should really be clear on the distinction. So limited liability means that the personal assets of the partner cannot be utilised to fund the obligations of the business. The creditors can't come after the limited partners and sort of come after their personal assets and make claims on their personal assets. And this is obviously a clear benefit to being a limited partner, because it provides protection over your personal assets. You don't want your family, having to give up your home or your sort of stocks and shares or your other business interests, that you don't want to have to sacrifice those to fund another business loss. So yeah, it protects the personal assets of the limited partner. Whereas unlimited liability is relevant for the general partner, and they can lose more than what they initially invested in the business. Their personal, non-business related assets could be taken away and used to fund any outstanding debts if the business fails. So yeah, that's obviously a key consideration if one is thinking about becoming a general partner. Your personal assets are liable. They're on the hook if the business can't pay its debts or makes losses. So that's what the general partners face in a limited partnership structure. So yeah, as a simple numerical example, just to hammer the point home, if a limited partner invests 1 million in the business but also owns a family home worth 2 million, the most they could lose if the partnership is to fail is 1 million. The creditors can't come after the home because it's a personal asset and it's outside the scope of the partnership. So the limited liability that the limited partner holds means that their personal assets such as their home and cars are protected. This is in contrast to the general partner, who, if they're the same sort of setup with $1 million business interest and a $2 million sort of home, the creditors could come after that home in addition to the business interest if the partnership was to fail. So yeah, that's the contrast that you need to be aware of when it comes to the distinction between the limited partner and the general partner. So a few other points here that are relevant. All partners are entitled to a share of the profit and also the losses if the business is to struggle. So that's as per the partnership agreement. So when the partners enter into the limited partnership, they'll all sign up to a partnership agreement where they'll agree on the share of profits and losses that they are subject to. One upside to being a general partner is that you receive a larger proportion of the profits. So obviously you're bearing a lot more risk because you've got unlimited liability. So it's only fair that if the business performs well, that the general partner receives more of the profits. So yeah, they definitely warrant a greater share of the financial return if the business is to do well. Tax, so limited partnerships are pass-through entities. So there's no corporate income taxes that need to be paid by the partnership, but the partners do need to pay income tax on their share of the business's profits. So the partnership doesn't pay any tax itself. There's no corporate income tax. They just distribute out the profits to each of the partners based on their relative percentage ownership shares within the business, and those partners need to pay income tax on the profits that they receive. So that's how a pass-through taxation structure works. In terms of the contract and the partnership agreement, it's often a lot more formal. It's negotiated between the partners. It can be very complex and made bespoke to the business in question. There can be multiple partnership tiers which have different rights and responsibilities attached to them for different levels of partner. They have profit sharing agreements sort of written in. So yeah, partnership agreements are typically written as opposed to being sort of more verbal in general partnership arrangements. They're a lot more complex because the different partner groups and the number of partners and the amount of capital sort of going into the business, they're a lot more sort of complex than what you would see with sort of regular partnerships. It can limit the transferability of ownership beyond a small group of partners. That's some of the features of the contract. When it comes to capital is more accessible than what you would find in a general partnership, but still limited by the number of limited partners who are interested in providing equity capital to the firm. So yeah, there's going to be more. There's going to be easier access to capital than what you would find in a general partnership because there's going to be more investors that are interested in becoming limited partners because they just need to invest their capital. They don't need to invest their time because they're not managing the business. But there's still, there's only so many LPs that you can get invested in the business. So there is still like an upside limit to how much capital that can be raised. Okay, so let's draw out how a limited partnership works structurally, just to make sure we're all completely clear on how this all works. So we start off with our two sets of partners. We have our general partner on the left-hand side. And then we have multiple limited partners on the right-hand side. So LP1, LP2, LP3. So that's our limited partner group. So we have more than one limited partner commonly, and typically just one general partner, but you can have more. And then we have our business. So the business structure is the limited partnership. And then, right, how does this work? What are the responsibilities of each? So let's start with the general partner. So the general partner has greater management responsibility, so they're more involved in the day-to-day tasks and role and sort of obligations of the business. They're more involved, but they also carry unlimited liability. So that's the two key characteristics of a general partner. Greater management responsibility, greater involvement, sort of involved operationally, but also unlimited liability. Then you've got your limited partners, and the key characteristics of the limited partners are they have lower management responsibility. They're less involved, they're not really involved that much at all typically, and they also benefit from having limited liability. So yeah, that's effectively how the structure works, right? You've got the general partner, typically one, sometimes more, and then limited partners. You typically have many limited partners who invest capital into the business. So yeah, the limited partners provide the capital. The limited partners are subject to less downside risk because their liability is limited, whereas the general partners have unlimited liability. They can incur sort of material losses. If the business is to underperform, they can lose their personal assets, etc. And they are, out of the two groups, they're much more heavily involved in the running of the business. And yeah, finally, as I mentioned at the top, private equity funds and hedge funds are the common users of this structure. They have general partners who manage the day-to-day operations of the funds and oversee all the investing activities, whilst the limited partners provide the capital, the equity, but are generally less involved with the management of the fund. They kind of sit back, let the general partners do the work, and hopefully collect the returns if the business does well. That's obviously dependent on a fund-by-fund basis. Some do well, some not so well. And it also can be used within sort of real estate as well. That real estate is a sort of a typical user of a limited partnership structure. Again, limited partners provide the capital, general partners do the work. So yeah, that's all I really had to say on limited partnerships. Key points are distinction between the general partner and the limited partner and the levels of liability that each partner carries. Taxation, it's a pass-through structure. Different responsibilities, so general partners are much more involved within the business, limited partners less involved, but they provide the money. And yeah, private equity funds and hedge funds are the main users of such a structure. So yeah, any questions, feel free to fire them off in the comments. I'm going to make a video now on limited liability partnerships, so we're getting through the different structures. But yeah, any questions, let me know. I'll see you guys in the next video.